Dear students, very good morning. So, in the last video, we had seen about the components of disaster risk reduction, mitigation, which are measures to be taken before and after an event, that is, actually reduction. Preparation, preparedness, measures to be taken before and after an event, and response, measures to be taken during and immediately after an event. Then recovery, which is the post disaster measures. So, in a deeper manner, we have seen in the last video about these components such as mitigation, preparedness, recovery, response, and recovery. So, what are the types of mitigation? First one is primary mitigation, which refers to the increasing the resistance to the hazard and reducing vulnerability. Second one is secondary mitigation. Secondary mitigation refers to the reducing the effects of the hazard, that is the preparedness. So now let us see about the various approaches or strategies for disaster mitigation. First one is risk identification. The first step in disaster mitigation is to identify the areas that are at risk. Once the priority zones have been identified, comprehensive and integrated risk reduction programs should be initiated at that particular area. Land use planning. Land use planning includes the mapping of disaster prone area, which should contain number of livestock per unit area, crop density, population density, road network, location of shelter, etc. And then the third one is structural and non-structural approaches. Mitigation measures may involve the constructions, example dikes, flood protection walls, etc. and non-material measures such as land use restrictions in flood risk areas. Then fourth one is disaster relief and rehabilitation. Supply emergency humanitarian and to victims, aids to victims for the survival and to relocate the peoples whose residents have been destroyed. And fifth is disaster management training and education. So trained up group of personnel need to be formed in local, national and regional context to mitigate and reduce the disaster risk. Then role of media in disaster risk reduction, which is a crucial role. The media is the effective means to circulate the news and bulletins about hazard warning and mitigation processes. Institutional capacity building. The several institutional bodies are engaged with disaster mitigation processes such as local community organization, national government, NGOs, international organizations, etc. The ability and capacity to those institutions should be as high as they are capable to mitigate the disaster. Disaster preparedness. So, in the earlier one, we had seen the various approaches for the mitigation processes. Now, let us see disaster preparedness. Preparedness includes the forecasting and warning of different hazards. Emergency preparedness organized the personnels for monitoring and alert and evacuation. Medical team should be very ready, and search and rescue team, availability of food reserve, emergency monetary fund and seed reserve, and distribution of disaster supplies and equipment. Then third one is education and training and public awareness. What is weather forecast and early warning? What is forecast? Weather forecasting is the application of science and technology to predict the state of atmosphere for a given location. Weather forecasts are made by collecting quantitative data about the current state of the atmosphere at a given place and using scientific understanding of atmospheric processes to project how the atmosphere will change. So nowadays we are seeing in the mass media, they are forecasting the about the flood, the earthquake, everything. At what time, how the flood will, its impact, how it will be, and then how much area it spreads, where and all, the severity, how it will be, everything they are showing. That is the forecasting. Tools, various types of tools like barometer, radio sport, radio sonde, satellite, geostationary and polar orbit, radar, and other equipments are used for weather forecasting. Early warning system is the major element of disaster risk reduction. It prevents the loss of life and reduces the economic loss and material impact of disasters. Early warning system can be used to detect a wide range of events such as collisions, missile launches, disease outbreaks, and so forth. So, here is the tasks related to early warning. The early warning is, as I mentioned earlier, early warning is the very important tool to reduce the reduction, to reduce the disaster risk. So here tasks related to early warning are communication, indigenous knowledge, media, and instruction. Types of yearly weather and forecasting based on duration. Short range 48 to 72 hours. Example cyclone, hurricane, bombing, flood, etc. Then medium range 3 days to 3 weeks. Example cold and heat wave, floods, etc. Long range over a season, that is El Nino and La Nino, etc. So types of yearly weather and forecasting system. Here we can see the level of preparedness, family at the community level, national and developing principles and laws, executing rules, funding, etc. Then international or regional seminar, conference, exchange of technology, and disseminating the knowledge to the people. So these are the level of preparedness. Response. Disaster response is the implementing phase of the disaster preparedness. So, mobilization, assessment, requirement analysis, rescue, evacuation is needed. Recovery. Recovery consists of rehabilitation, reconstitution, and psychological counseling. So, community based disaster preparedness, how it is to be, that we will see in the next video. Thank you.